Gentlemen, I think everybody is almost completed their meal. Mr. Penman, you go right ahead and finish up. We'll let you go ahead and go right ahead and seconds.
My last bite.
Glad everybody's here. This would point out this is a special call meeting. This is a meeting of Macon County Board of Commissioners, and we have invited our friends in the Planning Board to join us. But nevertheless, this is a meeting, so I will convene that special meeting at this time. And welcome everybody, glad you're here. I'm fairly certain everybody knows everybody, but I'll take just a second. Commissioner Ronnie Beal is over on the side. Ronnie's our longest serving board member. I think he's in his 6th, maybe starting his 7th year. Is that right, Ron?
That's right.
On the board.
He weighs the most too.
I'd say he probably does.
Probably right up there. There's some that also large, but I didn't wrestle.
Who you referring to, Ron?
Anybody might wrestle. You can poll the people here and say who wrestled.
No, I don't. Skip my Paul Higdon, and Paul's our newest commissioner. We've enjoyed Paul being on the board. Long time Macon County resident. We're glad he's here tonight. Next to him is Ron Haven, and Ron is in his 3rd year on the board, and appreciate his service and his being here. On that this way, of course, our board attorney is Chester Jones, crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's at 505 West Main Street, Franklin, North Carolina. Next to him is our Highlands District 1 representative, Jimmy Tate, doing an outstanding job of representing that district. And Jimmy, as you know, is also our liaison to the Planning Board. With that said, let me just say I've never been one. I don't talk much about the past, because I think all you need to be looking toward the future. But Jack, that's why they study history, because you look to the past and know where you've been and maybe where you're going to go. And we had, at least this time last year, back to that, we had a little bit of a rocky relationship with this board, between the two boards, and I think we all understand that. I'm just acknowledging that. I'm also acknowledging that to say that I think that's much improved, and everybody in this room is to credit that. I think we set out as a goal to begin to work together and make some progress on some of these things that we have on the table, and I think that's been done and is being done. So thanks to each of you that are here for that. The purpose of tonight's meeting is just plainly stated, is to sort of get our heads together, talk a little bit about what's been going on as far as the planning board, to discuss some a little bit of a summary as far as that goes, which Carl is going to lead here in just a second after he makes some comments. And then we're also going to move on and discuss some goals and expectations for 2013. And after that, we'll take whatever questions and comments. But this is a round table. Everybody jump in whenever you'd like to make comments, suggestions, whatever. And with that said, I'm going to recognize the Planning Board Chairman, Mr. Carl Gillespie. Carl? Yeah,
thank you, Tim. Just a couple brief comments. First, I'd like to say thank you to the county commissioners and staff for putting this thing together, taking time to be here. We're all busy folks and got other places that need to go, I'm sure. But I think that being here tonight helps us get grounded again and understand what we're here to do and what order we need to get it done. Secondly, I'd like to mention in going to other counties' planning board meetings, one thing that I realized, we're very fortunate in that I don't remember the last planning board meeting we had that we didn't have a county commissioner at the meeting. And talking to other chairs of planning boards that do not have a liaison or an active liaison, it creates some distance between the two boards, and information is not always carried correctly. And but we're very, very fortunate to have a great liaison in Jimmy Tate, and allows the commissioners to understand exactly what we're working on, where we're at, and why it's taking as long as it's done. Thirdly, that process is carried through efficiently by a great staff at the county level. Jack Horton's does a great job with the board, and I'm just tickled to be Matt Mason's assistant at this point. Without those folks doing all the legwork background, we wouldn't be able to accomplish near as much. So, we appreciate all of those efforts. I think everybody knows who the board members are, the planning board members are that are here. We've got a great board. They're diverse. There's a lot of expertise in a lot of different areas. And sometimes we go around in circles, getting to the end point. But I think at the end of the day, we're able to make some recommendations to the board of commissioners that are sensible or workable. We play devil's advocate back and forth in everything that we do. So hopefully, what we are able to bring forth as an advisory board to the county commissioners is something that has some value, and it's what you've asked for us to do. And then, as I've said before, in the event that we're not doing that, somebody needs to tell us. But with that being said, we're glad to be here. We're glad to serve on the planning board, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to be an advisory board to the county. One of the things that we were able to work through this year is subdivision ordinance, and that review process probably took a little longer than what it should have. But we wanted to make sure that any changes that we recommended to the board were sensible changes, were changes that needed to be made. Things that seemed to work fine, we left alone. Things that need to be changed, we went through it and figured out how to make those changes. So, Matt, if you want to take a minute and kind of bring everybody up to speed with what.
Sure. 2012, like Carl said, we started the subdivision ordinance process to review and propose changes. The planning board, through the review process, discovered an important issue that they wanted to truly resolve. They wanted to make the ordinance easier to use for the more smaller developers and more common incidental type subdivisions. That being said, in 2012, we had 23 total subdivisions that were either incidental. There were 20 incidental subdivisions, 3 minor subdivisions, and 0 major. So that shows that A, that the board was on the right track, and B, that they were looking concerned with actually what was going on. The plats that were exempt included a few family subdivisions and a couple of recombinations. The 3 major proposals that the board decided to propose was they decided to phase minor subdivisions, making it a little easier for the smaller type divisions to be easily done. We also eliminated the minimum lot sizes if the lots were supplied with community or municipal services. And then finally, we changed the technical review committee. Went back to the original language from the first ordinance and put the technical review committee within the hands of the county staff. And we've pretty much, at the end of the day, like you said, Carl, once you've circled all the wagons and everybody's done what they need to do, we came up with a pretty good product. Kevin?
Okay. All right. Sounds good. The next part of our meeting, a few things that we feel like the planning board needs to work on for 2013, or at least least get a good start on 2013, depending on timing. And ask our liaison Jim Tate to sort of handle that part of it. And we can certainly discuss that as we go. We've asked Jim to take discussions we had as commissioners, conversations he's had with us about that, and make some recommendations tonight as to where we need to go from here. So, Commissioner Tate.
That's funny that you say that, Kevin. I just made a note here that this time last year we were sitting out at Fat Buddies, I think. We were having our dinner, and I gave a little speech about all of us being here, and if you didn't love this county, you wouldn't be volunteering your time. If you didn't care about this county, you wouldn't be here. And part of that speech that I gave was, where do we go from here? And I couldn't be more tickled as a commissioner, as a past planning board member, and as y'all's liaison, at how well y'all work together in the past year. There's diverse personalities on this board, and that's good. Come up with new ideas, and again, y'all worked well together to come up with some mutual agreements on maybe where the subdivision ordinance goes. And I'm looking forward, as us as commissioners, to getting to that here sometime hopefully this year. I guess that's dependent upon, we keep our county attorney extremely busy, but whenever he does get to it, I'm sure he's going to change.
It's real close. I've looked at it, and it looks very good. I failed to mention one thing I thought was particularly good that the planning board done with the subdivision ordinances to deal with the bonding requirements. I think that was very insightful to relax that and present some options for those that might not be able to get a bond. But to make a long story short, I have reviewed it. I'm just about ready to get my seal of approval on it. I don't think it's going to require any change.
Good. That's a great testimony to all of y'all.
Would you have that ready for our March meeting?
I can.
Okay. Would that be acceptable? Yes, no?
Up to you, Mr. Chairman. You the mayor.
We'll look at Chester and get that to us.
But again, as I was just saying there, that's just a testimony, in my opinion, how great a job y'all have done. I have 12 years, actually no, I spent 1 year with you all, or a year and a half. I think I got 13 and a half years on planning boards. But again, I've seen it all. I've seen a few shirts grabbed. I've seen some arguing. I've seen some hugs. Not from y'all, but from past other planning boards I've served on. And I just thought y'all worked real well together. Again, the mix and match of personalities and the thought process and all this, I think went really well. And I'm looking again forward to us taking it up. Before I forget to mention, one of your members, John Underwood, I gave him a hall pass as he requested. He coaches my son's basketball team, and they've got their championship game on Saturday, and their final practice was tonight. So he's coaching my son's basketball team. I also want to give Mr. Haven a pat on the back. I know I'm y'all's liaison, but I think he attends more meetings than I do. And one of the things that I respect most about that is he hasn't stepped on my coattails. He hasn't tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, you're doing a bad job, you're doing a good job. He just acknowledges that we're there and that we're keeping up with things. And Commissioner, I appreciate that. On to the topics of, as I mentioned at our last meeting, the Board of Commissioners have had a slight change of plans, and we've asked y'all review the floodplain ordinance first. I think Chester is currently working on the changes the commissioners were thinking needed to happen, and we're not going to act on anything until we get y'all's input. We want to hear what you have to say, the good, the bad, the ugly, if we're crazy or not crazy. Hopefully we'll be able to work our way through that. While I'm talking about the floodplain ordinance, I've also had a phone call this week and a lot of emails, which I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen, from members of the watershed review, county's watershed review, and they've asked if they could have some input or look at what we're doing too before we act. So we as commissioners have not discussed that yet, but I don't know if we want to do that tonight, and if we want to have them the opportunity to see it, or if we talk about it at our next meeting, I'll leave that up to
Well, let's talk about it. We can discuss that now. I mentioned that to Matt Mason, and we talked about that. Matt, do you want to tell him what you told me about the watershed?
Sure. Yeah.
Or I can say whatever, or you don't have to.
No, that's fine. You talking about?
Which thing?
Tell me what you think, Ken.
They need to rehearse this. Sugar coat, spit it out.
Actually, I think Ken was talking about the watershed county. But yeah, that is something I have said. And thank you, Kevin.
Don't say anything, don't say anything to do.
On that board that have expertise, and they make.
I think the watershed council does bring a positive note to the county. They have a lot of knowledge that potentially the planning board could use, county commissioners could use, staff uses all the time. They have a couple of minor issues that we're trying to resolve with Chester about their membership, but I think that at the end of the day, they do have some knowledge.
And we'd certainly be glad to let them review that, Jeff.
Yeah, the issue with trying to figure out the realignment and whatnot and getting that done, I don't think prevents you in any shape, fashion, or form from talking with folks that have served on that, have expertise, and listing their thoughts and soliciting their advice.
Let's do that.
I think for what it's worth, the planning board has demonstrated in the past that when they are reviewing any specific, something that they don't feel like they have enough expertise to make a sound decision on, they have a long track record of reaching out to the appropriate parties and
Which we include
negotiating. Absolutely. So I would, whether they review it, independently of the planning board or not, I think I can't speak for members of the planning board. I've learned better than that. But I would be willing to bet that they would probably request input at some point.
Agreed. I'll follow up on that, and I'll be the first to say that as a commissioner, I've heard of topics that we brought up and ideas, and I've jumped right on the boat and said, yeah, that's a great idea. And then after I hear testimony and thoughts and figures from other people, I've taken a roundabout and changed my mind on things. And this is something that initially I was all for, but after I've been here reading some testimony here recently, I'm wavering now on this. And I'm just speaking for me only, I'm not speaking for the rest of the commissioners, and I don't want to know. So I'm not going to make a public decision on this until we get all of y'all's information in. And I just want to give each one of y'all my word. I'm sure the other commissioners would too, that we're looking forward to y'all's advice. We're not rubber stamping, and we're just doing this out of luxury to give y'all the courtesy of reviewing this. I, for one, and again, I'm not going to speak for all, but I, for one, I'm sure they feel the same. Want y'all's input. The watershed review, and I see y'all decide wants to have it. We want to hear y'all's recommendation. And again, I'll look forward to getting that and receiving that, and we'll take it from there. So that was number one, is floodplain, and I guess we'll be taking that up at our next meeting, which we decided at the end of this meeting when that'll be. Number two on the list is the sign ordinance. I don't expect that to take you very long to go through that. And then we're going to follow that up, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioners, I think we agreed upon the high impact ordinance as number 3. And then after that, I think we're going to be back to the drawing board and discuss it. And I honestly hope that we take something, a new topic up with y'all. I'm going to throw some ideas out there that maybe we get away from reviewing some of the ordinance, and maybe we use look at some of the future growth of the county, and maybe look at something a little bit different. And maybe how to regulate everybody, and we'll start looking in the future. Maybe some future topics, and maybe y'all throw us some ideas back on what may need to happen. But again, that's my personal opinion. I don't want to speak for the rest of the commissioners, because we'll discuss it at that point. Again, where do we go from here, as I mentioned earlier? That's where the planning board's going to ask. That's all I've got, and if any of y'all would like to follow up or disagree or agree with what I had to say, I'm all yours.
Comments, commissioners, Commissioner Biggs?
Well, Kevin, first of all, thank you to this planning board, and the planning board throughout the year has been active with the planning board long before I was county commissioner, and since then, they've done, for many years, done a lot of things for this county. The tough things come to this board right here, because you're talking about restrictions, you're talking about implications, people that affects everybody in the county. But they are an advisory board, but they, commissioners have to make the final decision. But on the thing you're talking about now, you're talking about the floodplain ordinance. I think I'm the only one in the room that voted for that as it stands today. And there's a history why that was voted for. It is, the rule is when you're making ordinances, if most of y'all know this, you got to meet state standards. You can supersede state standards, but you can't go under state standards. Well, in the field of the floodplain, and that's what this discussion is going to be about, is field in the floodplain, is did we overreach when we put that clause in there? Even at the time, we kept asking the questions. Jack, was you there then?
That was right before I came.
So I am the lonely bird. It says, if you read the floodplain ordinance, if the property's on, if this is the hill and here's the river, if this land is on your land, you can fill it. But yet you can't bring dirt in to fill it. I struggle with that, still do, I'll just be honest. So I think with working with the Watershed Council, though, I think that there'll be I think that the planning board and all these people with the Watershed Council, who you'll find very knowledgeable, and you'll also find very passionate, and they know what they're talking about. So, but I hope that we could come up with at least some type of happy medium where we can regulate that, because it affects a lot of property in this county. It really does. But the fact is that if the water's flowing here, if you turn that water, it's impacting somebody down the stream also. So there's two good arguments there. So, but it is more restrictive than probably anything I've read as far as filling. But we have a unique place with a lot of river bottoms. But hopefully, we thank the planning board, Mr. Chairman, for taking this on and working. But I think that there's a lot of folks that would like to see it stay, and a lot of folks would like to see it change. And but I think that, and y'all have set a good precedent on how you work together with the other agencies and other folks who have concerns, whether we agree or disagree. And I think you'll do that with the floodplain ordinance. And then moving on to the sign ordinance, it's needed work for a long time. And I know y'all get bored with things like that. Jack can talk to that. We've dealt with that for a long time. And it really needs fixed. But moving on to the big picture, this is me speaking. I think that this planning board, along with the town of Franklin planners, you still employed down there, Greg? You still take a check? You take a check. So, with Derek there, there'll be new leadership to town and some fresh ideas. We really need to have a serious discussion about 10 years down the road about water and sewer for the county. I'm talking about the county. The infrastructure and the growth, economically, whatever, is going to follow the water and sewer. Agreed, Bob? That's where it's going to go. So we need to have a serious discussion about that. And the town, of course, we worked, the county's worked hard in getting, securing some money to put new water lines in. And of course, how we govern and revenue goes to the town, which is fine, but it helps because they're all residents. No matter if you live in the city limits of Highland or Franklin, you're still a citizen of Macon County. But I think going forward, talking about the big picture, Commissioner Pate, I think that's one of the things we need to talk about. Looking down 10 years down the road is water and how we're going to mean, you go to some of these, but it's a different world when you talk about getting water from here to the head of Burn Tank. It's different. It's a little bit different than if you're working in the feeding line. That's what I told Renee that week. So, so I think on the big picture, we'll get through these things that need to be fixed. If it comes up, we'll fix them again. And y'all do a great job, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate every member of the planning board. And so it will be with the floodplain issue. I think you have the board that'll listen, and the board of county commissioners that'll listen. So, but if you've got to make up your mind before they have a discussion, it's fruitless to have a discussion.
That's right.
So, so we'll. But I thank y'all mostly for what you do. But I think the big picture going forward, there's a lot of big things we got to talk about if you're looking down the road 10 or 15 years.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add, commissioners, about the what Commissioner Tate suggested is the things that our goals and expectations for 2013? Commissioner Hickman, any input?
No, I appreciate the attitude of the current planning board. I think it's I've been hit with them a whole lot, but I'm impressed with the makeup of the board, and they're, you know, designed to listen to the public. I mean, it's and I think what Ronnie said, you know, we've got to be looking. I am opposed to most regulations, and my background is environmental health and biology, and I mean, I didn't just fall off the turnip wagon, but I think it's shifting, like Ronnie's saying, maybe from, he didn't say it this way, but from being over-regulatory to actually planning services down the road. Water, sewer is going to be a biggie. I think that's the direction I'd like to see the board take, planning board. But thank y'all for your service, these meetings. Hope y'all like going to them more than I do.
All right. Commissioner Hayden?
Yeah, I would like to say that I appreciate each and every one of you's time, how the board is working together, communicating with each other, in my opinion, is very important. For us with the planning board, for you people, as Commissioner Bill said, if you just got an idea all of a sudden it's going to be that way, that sort of makes you start ironing out problems, discussing things, pinpointing articles to talk about and have a valid reason why or why not. To me, this is where it's important. And I don't want to bring it up and I want to look at it in the past, but as Kevin said, some of the things that I saw in the past right there was a lack of communication. There was a lack of understanding of what people were hitting with things. And that, to me, was causing a problem. But I see a lot more discussions. And I think all of you would admit, as soon as you come to the board, I sat there very quietly and listened to what you got to say and go home. Take notes and try to figure out what we're doing with this, where we're going, how it's going to affect everybody. Rules and regulations don't have to be bearing on me, and I've stated this before. I'm not intending on building a house in Macon County or nowhere else. You can buy them cheaper than you can build them.
Don't say that.
But what I'm getting at is this right here. I want what we're doing to be fair to the public out there, to everybody. And as I say, we need to keep our communication, we need to keep talking, we need to understand what the other person means by things. And you know what you was talking about, the water, I think this is something we have discussed just a little bit. I had made a statement, if you can recall, the very first time that I ever spoke to legal women voters, and you were there, and I said I would love to see cities, water and sewer all through Macon County. And somebody stated to me, said, do you know what the price that's going to cost? And I didn't say it in front of everybody, but I look at it like this right here. You can eat a hamburger all day long. One of these days you can eat a cow, you just can't swallow it whole. You need to work a little at a time. And I think it's a very good thing that if we did start to other things, utilities and what have you, we need to how many people do I deal with all the time that's talking about wanting to move into Macon County? And we've heard it over and over and over about having internet and all these fiber optics and things in the mountains. And there are more and more and more moving in. And, but anyway, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, I'll shut my mouth and let you do some talking, because I want to hear from you too. I want to thank each and every one of you for all the time that you spend on what you're doing for us and the ideas you bring to the board.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard Commissioner Tate has made the recommendation that we prioritize the floodplain ordinance review, secondly, the sign ordinance, and third, the high impact ordinance.
High impact, I'm just curious, I didn't know that. What's to review on the high impact? I hadn't, that's the first time I heard that. I might have missed that somewhere.
That's just something we discussed
At the planning board.
No, I think we discussed it to prior commission, maybe I'm wrong.
Or maybe
I discussed it somewhere, it was when we went down, it was not discussed in our commissional meetings.
I mean, that's one thing about all these ordinances, when we pass them then and now, we always left it where they could always be brought up for discussion. If you make something hard and fast and it's cast in stone, then it can't, well, these ordinances are not. It has to change with the time.
Indeed, your subdivision ordinance requires you to look at it periodically.
Yeah. I think that's very wise. Yeah.
And I think that's my view on it. We may or may not make changes to it, but let's at least take a look at it.
I just remember the 2.5 years we went to every community and we worked on it. That's what I remember. We took it to every community in more than once.
On the high impact?
On the high impact. Every community, we would get down and argue about thee and you and, so I mean, but if there's things in there that it's a different, that's been 8 years ago? 7 years ago? Yeah. So,
And now that it's been there for a while, I think there'll be some wisdom and
I
put it
agree
on the
totally.
table, take a look and see
There's a
what
history
they-
that just didn't happen. You know, the commissioners had charged us with doing that,
And you were chairman.
yeah, it took a long time. As any, Carl, as any member has been here a long time. This is your second meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, this is my second meeting.
But that's what makes it work too, Mr. Chairman, that's what.
But you'd be okay with that being?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I just wondered if there was something specific.
No.
We didn't move up, because there's some things now that might need to be moved up quicker than the sign ordinance is what I really think.
But he mentioned it second. I think what he's talking about, we just had some general discussions in our commission meeting about reviewing these ordinances. I don't think we specifically targeted that. I think he mentioned that one third, because I think he felt like that was number
That's
3
fine.
priority.
I agree that it
But
should.
that's what we're here to discuss. If you guys are okay with that, if we're going to task them with that, I think we should vote on that, so it goes in our minutes, and then we have a record of that. So I would entertain a motion to place those 3 as priority for the planning board. Commissioner Tate, would you make that
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to prioritize the floodplain ordinance, second the sign ordinance, third the high impact ordinance, to review these in that order for whatever changes might need to be made, and then to refer those back to the Board of County Commissioners. So is there discussion on that motion for those 3?
I'm all right with that. I would like to ask a question. If we had some sort of, not pushing it, but some sort of idea of a time limit to finish these in.
No, I don't know if you could put a time. Could you, Carl?
Probably the best thing to do is task with and just maybe ask for a report about how it's coming along.
If you raise the pay, you might be able to get a time limit.
Yeah.
Without a bunch of volunteers, it's hard to put a time limit.
I don't know if you heard Chester. I would concur with that. We can task them with those 3, and then we can get the reports periodically back from Carl. He can get those to me or to Jimmy, and we'll, Commissioner Tate can report those to us at our meetings. I think that's, if we feel like things need to move quicker, we can say so, or if they're moving too fast, we can say so.
I really don't know what you're getting into until you get into it. It may be that you look at one of those and you talk with Matt and the folks that are dealing with it every day, and they tell you 2 or 3 things that they're having problems with in the real world, administering it. And you find that's all that really needs to be fixed, and we fix it.
Right.
There may be more fundamental things that have to be done.
Okay. Any other discussion on those 3 priorities? Hearing none, all the commissioners, if you're in favor of those three as priorities, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. So those will be our priorities for 2013, to be followed by other things. So, now we'll take just a minute and have a little bit of a round table. Any kind of comments or questions anybody might have, or discussion about any other subject. Ms. Patterson.
I agree with you, water and sewer we're way behind on getting that directed. We lost Super Walmart to Georgia several years ago. I had to sell a piece of land because no water and sewer was available. So I think that should really be looked at. It's going to be expensive, but if there's ever been one thing that would pay off for this county, it would be water and sewer. And repay 441.
Can I ask Dave, I mean, this has been around a long time about the water, and, you know, we've had these discussions back and forth about a source. One time, Chairman Leatherman, we even talked about, you know, from Ninahala Lake. Now it's full of something, like mercury, what was it? So, if that gets to that point, Ms. Patterson, do you think, with your years of experience of being a business lady in Macon County and selling property and dealing with people, would, instead of, like Ronnie said, it's not eat that whole cow, you have certain corridors you would want to take that to, right? And how the county, of course, the county manager to help with that, how to put all that together as a partnership. And my question for Peggy is this: if you were a resident, a town resident, and you're already paying for water and sewer, and you move that out to the county, would you think, and I'm just, is that recording? I mean, this may not be the time for it, but do you think that it should be a county or a, I've always viewed it as a joint, and we can have this discussion, I've always viewed it as a joint project with the town, because they have whatever they have now. Is that the way you all envision it, Peggy, to be a joint venture, or let it be a standalone venture with the county? A lot of counties do it both ways.
I think it needs to be done county-wide, because everybody in the county that's going to use it needs, and you're going to be taking the water from out of the county to get to the town. I had never really thought that much about it, but
You will now.
I think it would be more acceptable to the people in the county if it was done as a joint venture between the town and the county.
That's good. Thank you.
I can chime in on that, I would agree on it too. Nothing more than I'd love to see is the town and county work together on a project like this.
And this would really help the economic development, and we need jobs. Right now, we've got, I guess, 15 or 20 buildings vacant down on 441 that had sweepstakes in them, but now then we've lost $1 million right there to the county on income and rental. Just the buildings that I could see and the rent they were getting, we lost about $250,000 a year in just rent alone to people, plus all the people that employed and we've got opportunity to expand in that direction, and particularly down 441 because it's flat. There's a lot of businesses there, and that's where most of the people enter the county. And if you don't believe me, live down there for a while and try to dodge them every day, because there are a lot of people comes up 441, and we've got new businesses coming in down there. A few new ones, some going, some coming. But I think it would really be an improvement if we just concentrated in each direction and got it started. I campaigned on that 20 years ago.
Well, Carl's got that. I think Jim and Carl both made note. All your comments are very similar. I think they're in agreement that that's probably something we should tackle. Good point, Mr. President. Anybody else? Jack?
I was going to say several years ago, but it's actually several decades ago. Counties were involved in long-range planning, especially in rural areas, and in order to get qualify for any grant money back then, I'm talking about the 70s and early 80s, you had to have a 201 facilities plan, which means you had to put some thought into where the growth and development was going to be, and come up with a plan as far as extending water and sewer into those growth corridors that were going to be developed in the county. So I think one of the things that probably needs to be revisited is to take a look at and see what we do have right now and where the growth areas are going to be now and perhaps in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years. And you'll have to have some help to put together. We probably need to revisit that old facilities plan and say, well, where are we now and what needs to be done? And we can't do it alone by the county because the town has a sewer plant and the town has a water plant. And so it has to be a joint venture if we're going to use that or build your own. And so I think if we had a long-range study on where the growth and development is going to be over the next several decades and come up with a plan. You may not go by that exactly, but at least you have a roadmap of where you're trying to get to. And right now, the way our water and sewer development happens is there's a crisis over here, so we run a water line or a sewer line, or we need to fix this area because this is broken, or this is an environmental issue over there. And so we scramble around and try to get grant money to do that. The projects we're working on right now are being put in water and sewer because of crisis situations that occurred to force us into that. And that's not, it's not planning for the future, that's reacting to crises as they happen right now. I would like to see, as a suggestion, at some point in time, take a look at the long-range infrastructure development when it comes to water and sewer, and work with the people who are involved in that, both the town and the county, and maybe in the region, maybe from the state, to find out what we can do to conceive a plan that will accommodate the growth. I think Ronnie is right. If you've ever been in some of the other areas of the state, water is becoming the #1 resource. We've got water here, we just don't have an impoundment. We got a creek to get it out of. We got good water here. Other places in the state are having water wars between river basins on who's going to get the water, who's going to get the water rights. If you're planning for any long-term growth and development, you've got to have access to good, reliable, clean water. And I think Ronnie's right, that needs to be looked at some point in time. And I think instead of just working on rules and regulations, it would be helpful if we could have some long-range planning on development of things like that.
And speaking of that, I'm sorry, a little bit of news that, always good news from Raleigh. The Rural Center, of course, has been a really big, I mean, if he's talking about sewer to the middle grade school, time after time has been a big, we were informed by Senate leader that probably now you will see that money and municipalities' money combined. So the rural centers, we know it was designed for rural counties, but the world has changed. You know, you got 80 counties, and you have 20 counties who have more legislators than the other 80 combined. It's changed, but as the senator said, of course, he represents Guilford here in Rockingham County here, big metropolitan county and a rural county. But I, for one, and Mr. Manager, you're very familiar. I really hate to see that. I just have a feeling that when that money's merged, we will get merged. I just have that feeling. I don't know, but I mean, that's the discussion now. And I'm afraid you want to see that that merger take place. And so if you're talking about a water and sewer project for Guilford County compared to water and sewer project for Macon County, good luck, you know. So I think that we just need to, if you have an opportunity, that when that comes up, and it will come up, I think, Mr. Chairman, we need to, as a rural community in a rural county, because it has been a tremendous, I don't know, in the far west, the manager doesn't want to take a stab at it, Bill Gibson, you can hear, but hit, could I easily say it's been in the hundreds of millions?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Easily. And one of the good things, I think, is a lot of the money that's gone into grants and water and sewer and infrastructure has been by and large, a lot of federal money, that may not be available as much as it used to be as well. And we've had some help with the state, but by and large, a lot of the big money we've had on big water and mountain projects and big sewer plant projects and so forth have come from some specialized federal government grants. But everybody knows what the situation is with the federal budget and the money that's not available now. So that's going to be a tough source to try to get funds out of as well.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Yes, Sue.
I just wanted to mention one other thing while we're on the water topic, that in the future, when we're looking at our water source, I think we need to pay close attention to the interbasin transfer debate, because Little Tennessee heads up in Georgia, and we need to know what our rights are and how we can protect our water source.
We can move the state line down there. What needs to happen?
If you want to elaborate, if you don't know, I say I was there, Jack Morgan was there, Lewis, did you go that night? We all showed up in Georgia. If you don't remember exactly, if I get it wrong, tell me, they were going to take, they were going to convert what is now, used to be the old Haynes plant, into the water treatment plant, take the water from the Chattooga River, which is on the other side of the, and then they were going to run it through the water system in Clayton, through the water, and put it in the river. We estimated it would raise the level of the Little Tennessee coming toward Franklin. It was by inches, right, Jack? Several inches. And you talk about the most blatant case of an interbasin transfer. That's it, which would affected everything from our floodways to our floodplains to the quality of the water. So, and the legislature was well on its way. Mr. Morgan, best I remember. And we all, I think every commissioner went at that time and spoke about that, and I hope that don't come back around again. It didn't happen, but that Susan's right. It don't mean it won't come back around.
It could go the other way too. They could be taking water for Atlanta.
That's definitely
That's probably your bigger risk there.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said, we didn't talk about moving the state line. The head of Tennessee right there was
Just keep interbasin transfer on the list of water issues.
And this is great. If you cross North Carolina, if it's Virginia line, this is a huge issue. It is a huge issue.
Well, one thing that came out of that meeting that Ronnie was talking about, when all the county commissioners went down to Raven County and spoke at that input session, was that we got on the list now. Anytime there's an application for any kind of a water or discharge permit in northeast Georgia, we get notified about it now. So I don't know if y'all knew that or not, but we do. We get, and sometimes they're just little incidental things, but anything big comes through there.
Isn't something about to start back up at the Haynes plant again? I heard something about.
I hadn't heard anything about that lately, but anytime somebody applies for a new permit that involves a discharge or taking water out, it has to go through their version of Diener, and so we're on the mailing list, and so we get copied on that. So if it does come up again, at least we'll get some notice. I think the one that happened down in Georgia, if we hadn't been notified by some of the folks here in the county, we may not have been aware of all the things they were planning on trying to do down there.
Is made.
When we're interbasin transfers across state lines, that regulated to federal level? State just can't decide to do that.
I do.
The Georgia legislature was on the verge of it. I don't know if they were
Serious interstate litigation over. Isn't there a big deal too about Tennessee and Georgia up in the northwest corner there? And Alabama and Florida and Georgia are all.
They've got a serious water source problem in Atlanta in that area now. They're looking for more resources.
Some guy was saying
Lake
that
Lanier is pretty much tapped out as far as their water supply. And so in order for a city and a metropolitan area to continue to grow, they're going to have resources. There's not enough water with their current water supply for them to continue to grow at the pace they've been growing at. So there's going to be a big push for them to try to find other water resources.
There's some good articles this week in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about it. Anybody's interested.
Any other planning board, anything to say?
We got them, it's your opportunity, folks.
Bill?
Yes.
Good. Just listening.
Okay.
Are we missing some other planning board members, or is everybody here tonight?
Jimmy Goodman.
Jimmy Goodman and John was on it.
I think one person that hasn't been mentioned tonight that was instrumental in helping the planning board work through some issues, and some definitions and things of that nature that should be recognized as a county attorney. There was a time that we didn't have that luxury.
Always there.
At this point, we were more than making up for it and who we had, and I think I'd be safe to say on all the planning board behalf, we appreciate what our staff attorney does.
We're trying to get you to be a little more detail oriented than what we're running.
Yeah, he's a little bit, we're working with him on that. We'll try to get him to be a little more precise.
I think we'd be remiss, since last time we met, Al Slagle passed, and Al's like myself, and many of you here, multi-generation family, that cared a lot about Macon County, and it showed through his input, through his community service, and just say that Al's dedication to this group is much appreciated. His dedication to the county is appreciated. So he'll be missed. He is a good fellow. Al and I talked, didn't always agree with Al, but that, as I've told many of you through the years, my wife often disagrees with me, but I still love her. I reckon she still loves me. But so we don't always have to agree, but we can respect each other. And I think that's if there's a message here, that might be it. But just in remembrance of Al. Let's all remember.
Good point, Mr. Charles.
Anything else that we need to talk about
Pay raise.
for the planning board?
You need to talk to Mike and put it in this
Put in the pay plan.
He's working on the pay plan.
Get us in there.
But, and city commissioners, we're not getting a pay raise in that thing either. We're not mentioning anything. We want to compare us to Macon County. They make $40,000 a year, these commissioners over there. You don't like that? No. Not quite. Anything else? Okay, our goal was to be through by 7:30 at 7:07. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. That passes. We are adjourned.
Just a note, remember, we do have an opportunity